pilot was born, a TV show was born, and season 1 was born.
When I got a call about it, I didn't think, oh, I don't want to work on a teen show. And I think that's what happens now. They isolate shows by genre. This was a show that was just about people who happened to be in high school.
This show was always autobiographical. Every single character is one side of my personality. You know, I was sort of the poor kid that grew up on the wrong side of the creek. I'm from Goose Creek, North Carolina. I'm from the real Dawson's Creek. And then I was also the wannabe Spielberg who filmed the shows in the backyard of said creek. And then I was also Pacey, the jokester, who just never got anything right. And then I also felt like I was Jen, who was just this broken bird who just wanted who just wanted more and better and to be different and to change all my wrongs.
In the finale, episode 13, I think, it was that Joey and Dawson kissed. You had your lovers, your teen romance, the relationship that was supposed to drive you through the whole series, and you had them kiss.
And that helped us inform all those moments of belonging. I always wanted Pacey to have that sort of officer and a gentleman trajectory, which it was sort of about him, just becoming a gentleman. And like the whole second season was, Pacey's Pond, as I always refer to it, because it was really his journey. And I pitched it with the idea that if we bring Jack on, let the audience love him, let him come out of the closet, then suddenly Joey is going to have to turn to someone, and it'll bring her right back to you-know-who.
He was the only person at the beginning of season 3 who had been there for season 2, and he had the voice of the show. And that was what you need and what we needed that year.
I was like, the show, Greg's the closest thing we have to me in terms of mimicking the voice of the show, and
Greg had the voice, and he had the characters, and he had the perfect sensibility.
The end of 301, I believe, is Pacey and Joey on the dock, and Joey is crying and Pacey is comforting her. And, in that moment, Greg already knew. We knew that's where we were going.
Cut to, Josh and Katie on the dock with the swamp thing costume.
Yeah, we saw that coming in season 1. And you saw the chemistry, and then it opened up, and then we just put a lid on it. And I thought you guys brilliantly, when is that kiss happened at the right time.
I rewatched 323. I watched the finale because I wanted to remember, and it was, the heart of this show always was just that common pain of adolescence.
I grew up in a small town in Maine, and I really identified with these people, and the show was simple in that way, but to do things that simply is complicated, like to really get to the heart of people and really get at the core emotion is complicated, and it's hard to stretch it out over as long as we did. And that's what we were just trying to do, honestly, every day, episode to episode.
It would be fantastic to get Kevin back to do a spectacular 2-hour, which really wrapped things up beyond just the season finale that would ultimately become the series finale.
And then by jumping ahead 5 years, it suddenly gave me freedom.
And it was
to go back to my characters that I could find a way in.
Dawson or Pacey. And I'm like, I don't know. There's an argument to be made for. I love my Josh Jackson, but still, there's an argument to be made for both relationships every day for a week.
It was hard, but when I said yes, I'm going to do it. It just Dawson seemed like yes, the obvious answer. And I was a purist. To me, it's always Dawson and Joey, Dawson and Joey, Dawson and Joey. I don't know. This isn't what the show set out to be. Maybe that's where it started, but we've evolved, and this show has turned into something else. And I always wanted this show to be sort of the twist on the teen drama. I always wanted this show to be surprising. And I also wanted it to be honest and real, and I also wanted to say something about soulmates and what I believe soulmates can be. We find our soulmates in our best friends. We find our soulmates in our partners. It's not always romantic love. I sort of feel like Pacey and Joey are soulmates. I think Dawson and Joey are soulmates. I think Pacey and Dawson are soulmates. I think it's a triangle. I think they're all soulmates. And when you left the show in that last moment where they're talking to each other,
everybody had what they wanted.
They're a family. They all got what they wanted.
Dawson always wanted to be a filmmaker. That was his dream. When we met him in that first episode, his introduction was both with Joey Potter, but he was a filmmaker, and his one true love was Spielberg. And Pacey never thought he'd amount to anything. And being in love with Joey made him realize, or wanting to be good enough for Joey made him realize what the kind of man he could be. And so I think that Pacey should get what he worked so hard for, and I think Dawson should get what he worked so hard for.
And tell you, when you deal with death, that's one more way of coming of age. And this was a coming of age story. So what would it be like in a world where they lost one of their own? When you realize life is so precious, you start to truly make decisions. You start making real decisions. And that is what it forced Joey to do, make a real decision.
When you love the show, it's much easier to write the show. And in some weird way, I mean, Kevin created Joey Potter, who was a girl in a small town who wanted to get really good grades, and she wanted to get out of this small town. And that was me. So I feel like you have to work so hard in this industry, but sometimes you just get that gift of a show that you understand and you love. And that was what Dawson's was to me, definitely.